What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Eastern Current. As always, me and Zane tried to record over Skype. We're like, all right, it's going to work this time. Last night, we got about 40 minutes into it, and my computer froze. So I think Eastern Current just wants me and Zane to hang out in person.
We have to be here in person.
It is how it's done. But we're going to talk tonight, as well as last night. What we talked about is flounder fishing. It's middle of flounder season right now. I'm going to try to get this podcast out tonight, which is Wednesday,
It's the 7th, probably. Ish.
Yeah, the 7th, I think.
Sure.
8th. Wednesday the 8th. We're about a week into flounder season, and there's they've taken a little beating, but there's still some good fish out there to be caught. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about our views on the flounder season, views on the fishery a little bit. Talk about how we like to catch flounder. We both like to catch flounder, but how we'd like to attempt to catch flounder.
How we like to do it.
How we like to do it. How we like to get it done. I'm going to pick Zane's brain about inshore flounder fishing because it's like, for me, it seems like whenever I'm not targeting them, I catch the crap out of them. And today I spent 2 hours targeting them and really struggled, which was, we caught some fish, but all right, I'm already jumping into the podcast. Go check out Ice Strike Fishing. Great stuff. Go check out Penn, Berkeley. Just go check out Fishing Tackle. That's what I'm going to say today. There's a bunch of good fishing tackle out there.
Stuff, man. You won't regret it.
Actually, I've got a soft plastic I want to show you over there, Zane. It's pretty cool Topwater soft plastic I just got.
Ooh, Zane?
No, it's not a Z-Man. Go look in the top of that box over there. That one in the chair, and bring it over. I want to show it on the podcast too. But guys, as always, thanks for checking out the podcast. That thing. Isn't that thing awesome? Little grass master. It's by 13 Fishing, and it's got like a little. I'm excited to try it. I got to do a video of it. It's got like a little what's that bait called? A buzz bait. It's got like a buzz bait tail, weedless. You can throw that thing up in the grass. I'm assuming I can throw it up in the grass and fish it as a topwater.
Dude, the trout like that.
Think the trout will smack that?
They take. There's what's the mirror lure with the prop? The old one.
The mirror lure with the prop.
There's a mirror lure with.
With the prop tail on it.
Has 2 props.
Oh, on either side. That's an old school one.
Old school, but they make them. You can buy them off mirrorlureofficial.com, and then you can. I guess all the OGs take the first prop off. And it's
really?
Second little.
That's pretty sweet.
It's like, and then kind of like goes under and spins for a minute.
Really?
And then rises back up and then kind of goes. And they apparently when it goes underwater,
they smack it. So this is the first time I'm taking one of these out of the box. It's a little wider than I thought it was, but I think that's going to help keeping it up on the surface. But it looks like it's got a rope or like cord through the soft plastic to the hook with this off the back of it. So all I gotta say is, that's nice because you're not gonna, like, a bluefish comes up and smacks it or something, you don't lose all the hardware, so you can keep this hardware. I think you can just buy these soft plastic pieces that have this rope through it by themselves, and then you can just clip gear into it. There's a lot going on there, but I think that'll be a pretty cool. Like today, we were set up. We were bait fishing, but we were set up on the spot, and you could hear the redfish blowing up way back in the grass. Like that thing, you could just bomb it in there. And get some attention with that back piece.
Probably put a pinch weight on there if you want to.
Yeah, get it down a little bit.
Surface.
Yeah, it'll be sweet.
Eat that underwater.
Yeah, they would definitely eat that underwater. But cool bait. It's called the motorboat.
That's sweet.
The old motorboat. But yeah, I've got a couple other cool baits over there. I'm gonna try to do some videos on the water with in the next week or so. I've got a bull redfish video, not a attempt at bull redfish, not catching a bunch of slot drum up on the Pamlico video that should be dropping pretty soon. I'm almost done editing it, and a bunch of other stuff from up there coming, and hopefully some
big trout video.
I think we're gonna do some more hunting videos this fall. I was gonna try to film some goose hunts and whatnot, but I've lost my GoPro, but I found it. So
you should climb up a climber on Saturday
and film you.
Watch me shoot deer.
I might be into that. But let's talk about flounder fishing. What's your kind of take on this season? Last year was our first year of the season.
Yeah.
We had 2 months. This year they dropped the dates. We have 2 weeks.
Yeah. I guess my take, it seems like there's an awfully lot of flounder around.
Yeah.
I'm no scientist. I think hopefully the scientists that are paid by the state of North Carolina are using real data to figure out what we have. And I guess, I think last year with the 45-day season, they weren't expecting the huge just slaughter
massacre
of fish,
yeah.
man. Like it got so bad So, and even now, like, I don't know, like, what's the limitations does it take to people not go out and just get all of them? Like, I went gigging the other night, and it's, I mean, there was more boats at night than I've ever seen on the water.
Really?
Like, okay, I had to park my trailer at a buddy's house because Wrightsville Beach boat ramp was full.
Oh my god!
At 12 o'clock at night.
I heard there's been a lot of people out there. I didn't realize that was the case.
The boat ramp was full.
Yeah,
so it's
crazy.
like, man, I mean, it's also, I think you factor in the holiday weekend.
Yeah.
So people leaving their trailer there, but I mean, I had to park my trailer at my buddy's house and like walk back to the ramp. So,
that's crazy.
I don't know, man. I hope hopefully it's gonna, the end result is in a more stable flounder population for the future. I don't know if the way of doing it is allowing, 14 days or maybe, people will probably hate me for saying this, but maybe shut it down for a few years. I know if they did shut it down for a few years, it would allow, a bunch of all these fish, they're spawning late September.
Right.
These fish are gonna. That's why the pound nets work so good up there. All these fish are moving out. They're going to spawn. So maybe have a season after the spawn. I don't really. Like I said, I'm not a scientist, man. Hopefully they're managing it well enough to where the end result is a better flounder population. But it seemed like, until September 1st, it was a great amount of flounder. But it's a migratory population. I'm not really sure.
It's tough because it's like everyone is just hitting everything so hard for flounder, and
I'm one of them.
Yeah, I mean, because it's that herd mentality of like, oh, you got to do it. You know what I mean?
You got to do it, man.
And it's a tough scenario for sure. And then there's the commercial season that comes into play after our season.
Which I feel like, I mean, geez, I don't even know, like, is there any left?
Yeah, I don't know, man. And I see, in my head, I'm like, why not just do like one fish per boat per day, all year?
So when you look at the North American model for conservation, the reason that doesn't really work is because the average person who's going to harvest a flounder or deer or whatever isn't going to get all of them.
Yeah.
So you're limiting. If you go back and look at all the population problems that we've had throughout hunting and fishing, and what we've developed as a pretty good way. I mean, our wildlife is better than anywhere else in the world. There's not many places that we have these things because we've chosen to manage for them. But you got to think like the average person, if they go out fishing every day or 2 times a week from April to October, and they're keeping one fish every time they go out, is that going to be more than what would be 4 fish in a 14-day period? Probably not. But it's the same thing for you're managing for the general population, not the guide who knows how to go catch 16. You're managing for the people.
Right,
so
that's true.
I guess it's normally limiting bag limits never really affects the quota versus the availability, the opportunities had. You have to limit the opportunities had to really affect the.
That makes sense. I never really thought about it like that. Yeah, that's a really good point because, if you could go 2 or 3 times a week every year, and you can usually probably always catch one.
Yeah, you always get one.
Yeah, then they're going to end up killing a lot more fish. So that just changed my whole mindset on that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, man, as far as like animals in general, that's why the duck seasons are always shortened. It's not really the bag limits. That's why the deer seasons are always shortened or manipulated. Not really in North Carolina because we have a pilot deer, but if you look out west when it comes to mule deer and elk, it's always a shortened season, not a limited take. Most of the time you can only kill one anyway, but people aren't really going out and slaying all the time. I mean, some people may, some people do, but the average person that just goes out and anchors up and tosses the mullet under a dock, they're not catching 16, or they're not catching a limit. They're just one per person. Might be 4 people on the boat. They go out every other day and get 4, and they're definitely killing more than whatever the amount of fish is.
That's true. Yeah, they're going to kill a lot more that way. Sure. I guess it doesn't make that that would get rid of that feeling that we have right now. Like
everyone's
going.
People would do it less, man.
Yeah.
But it would help. It would be a breath of fresh air as a guide to just be like, yeah, we'll let all these redfish go. We'll get some flounder on the way back.
Yeah.
It was a struggle this year with. I normally try to advocate against killing your like set number of redfish or just keeping one or whatever, but when you have people that are looking to take fish home, it was hard to be like, no.
Yeah, especially like you go through a week of like, all right, my red, I'm not really on a great redfish bite, but I know I can go sit in the ocean and catch some flounder.
Catch some flounder, yeah.
And so it's and some people just are stoked to go bend the rod. A lot of people are, but then you get, I'd say 1 out of every 7 or 8 trips, or somebody like really wants to fill the cooler up.
Yeah.
At least for our clientele, I feel like.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been crazy for sure. Like I thought I was really excited to go out and fish the ocean, and honestly, my trolling motor catching on fire I think was like a blessing in disguise because it's like I don't know, just the headache of all the people and all the stuff. Your secret numbers. You're like, I got this secret little ledge that I'm gonna go fish. No one's gonna be there, and then
it ain't a secret.
It ain't a secret. Yeah. If it's in range of Spanish trolling, like somebody's rolled over and found it.
Yeah, and they've shared. They've told their friends.
Exactly. So like there's a wreck down south that you and I like to fish.
Oh, yeah.
I think I just told Zane this, but it's one you can see. If I'm saying this and you know this, people that are listening to the podcast know this. So I'm not going to blow this spot up, but you can see it from Fort Fisher. Like you can see if there's a boat on it. Like when you're driving down through Fort Fisher, and there was 13 boats on it the other day when I was putting it at Fort Fisher. 13 boats on it. And so it is just, it's crazy that there's that much, I don't know. It's a small piece of structure too, which is what's crazy.
You can't fish. You can, like, three's a crowd.
Two's a crowd, really.
But three's definitely a crowd.
Yeah. And there was like boats like spread out. There was like the people on it. There was like 5 boats on it. Then there was like a big circle around it of people like trying to fish.
I mean, I say this jokingly, but I could have made a good attempt at one of the artificial reefs that I pulled up to on Saturday or whenever it wasn't blow day, so the second. Yeah. It was the first day I went out and fished. I could have made an attempt to run across like 6 boats. I think I could have made it.
Just
yeah, it was like
Frogger.
Everyone was like, I mean, people were like swinging on their anchors and yelling at people. It was bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want any of that. Really, honestly, my blood pressure would just
like,
go up.
Yeah, like you heard, and it was like pretty slick, so like you could hear people's arguments from like across the AR.
Golly,
just mad at each other.
The worst. We'll get into like some more flounder talk, but that just reminded me of the story that I think I've never shared on the podcast, so I got to share this. So if you're listening to this podcast and this was you who did this, I've forgiven you, so I'm not mad anymore. But I was pretty ticked off when this happened. But I was anchored up on the north jetty, inside the wall a little bit, probably 15, 20 yards, sitting there. Honestly, I was running the trolling motor, and that was where I could get my anchor to hang.
Yeah.
It was really rough, and I was with some clients, and we're sitting there trying to catch a redfish, trying to catch a flounder, trying to catch anything. It was a tougher day. And some dude comes running in from off the beach, probably like a 22-foot V-hole boat, and comes up and like kind of idles around like right beside me, looking at me for a little bit, like he wanted to be sitting where I was sitting. And so then he goes like 20 yards in front of me and just pitches his anchor out.
Nice.
And drifts to the point where I've got to reach forward, put my hand on his boat as he's drifting past me, trying to get his anchor to hang. He turns around, starts cussing at me, and then his anchor hangs my anchor line, pulls my anchor off, and then our ropes are tangled, drifting out into the ocean. Solid. And he cusses me out for being in the way.
Yep.
And that's it. So that's stories like that. I don't want to add any more. Got a phone call, Mr. Poppy. I don't want to add any more stories like that, and I feel like if I go out and flounder fish some of the reefs, I might. So.
Yeah, it might. Man. Well, next time you'll know just not to be in that guy's way.
Yeah,
you should know better.
I will leave as soon as I see his boat. I don't even remember what it looks like. This was a couple years ago, but man, it was like you couldn't even really be mad because it was just it was so mind blowing that it was going on. Yeah. But that guy was probably having a rough day, and so hopefully things are going better for him. So
hopefully he's catching them. Hopefully he's limiting on flounder.
He's getting them. Yeah. Well, let's get into kind of what flounder are doing this time of year, like how you like to target them inshore, how you like to target them in the ocean. Maybe we'll start out with the ocean. You've been doing a good bit of ocean fishing lately as well.
Sure. So basically, if I'm gonna go target flounder in the ocean, I'm trying to find the most low relief structure you can find in a great area. So whether that be a ledge or like an old shipwreck or, rock pile, what have you, I'm looking for something that's going to be low to the ground and spread out so I can fish more surface area for longer. You're not.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're fishing that taller structure for flounder, they're not going to be really up suspended, so they're going to be just in the perimeter of it. So you're kind of limiting. Even though it might be a big piece of structure, it's only going to be holding flounder around the outsides of it. And I think you brought that up, which I'd never really thought about. I'd always known this just from trial and error, but the flounder want to be on low structure because that's going to hold the bait lower to the bottom and make it easier for them to feed on it. They don't have to swim. I don't really know if they swim up and feed on.
I've seen some videos of like the summers, like the fluke, like swimming way up off the bottom.
I caught last year during flounder season. I caught a flounder on a light line on a pokey, and I don't know how far or if it made it to the bottom. We were spot locked. I had one out, and then I look back and it's kind of like. You know how it kind of looks like when a shark's eating it but hasn't taken off running?
Yeah.
And I handed it to a client. I was like, "Yeah, check this line or whatever." And it was it was a keeper flounder, and I gaffed it.
That's awesome. Might as well if we ate the line.
Whoa, just
in case it's a kingmaker. That's cool.
So that's awesome. The one time, and I've caught them on top waters, but up real shallow.
So you would say light lining for flounder is probably the best way to go.
That's how I've been catching them lately. If you want to do it, you can book a charter at farmtopfishingadventures.com.
I would agree. I mean, you'll definitely catch them on that higher structure, but one, it's harder to fish. You really have to understand where you're sitting on it.
Yeah.
You can't really get away with casting on that higher structure.
Yeah, I would say if you're gonna the one time I will fish. I'll choose artificial over live bait would be if I'm on that high structure and I can kind of mark on my side scan exactly where it ends. I'll just go around the perimeter and jig.
Jig it, yeah. You need a pretty calm day to do that well, I feel like.
Yeah,
to kind of really
around. You get hung up, man. You get hung up on the big stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I would have to agree for sure with the lower relief ledges. Is there any piece of structure that you feel like? And maybe we can break this into two things, but artificial wise and live bottom wise that you feel like flounder orient to more. Artificial wise are they own a really low broken down ship or concrete or.
If you have a good sonar, then you'll be able to see they want to be on the lower rock piles, the lower there's one that's at one of them I can't remember. It's manhole cover is what's
really
listed as.
You might have to put that on vibrate.
Yeah,
it's gonna be loud.
Yeah.
Manhole cover. Okay.
Yeah, it's listed. You can pull up on the Sinrad what's there.
And
it says manhole pieces, manhole cover.
So that would be probably the manhole part that comes up a little bit. You'll see somewhere there's a manhole on it, but
I think it's probably a piece of concrete with a piece of steel.
Like a small cylinder almost.
Yeah, they love that, man.
Yeah.
Whatever. I guess they just kind of lay behind it, but I do well on that one. But just a lower relief. If you can find a ledge that's holding a lot of bait this time of year near an inlet, it's going to be lights out on that.
For sure.
Everyone else probably knows about it.
Yeah.
So
the further away you can get from inlets and find live bottom, the better you're probably going to do on flounder.
Sure.
So less they're going to get hit. But this time of year, with the season, it just kind of everything goes a little different. So I was expecting it to be crazy this year, but not
Man, it's been. People must have just taken off work. I'm assuming people took vacation around flounder season.
For sure.
That's probably what happened. But it's just every morning, Tuesday, Wednesday, doesn't matter. Trails End boat ramp is full. You know what I mean? 6 o'clock the other morning, there's I waited 30 minutes to put my boat in the Trails End. There's just it's full. Everyone's there. I don't know. I think too. It's I'm putting in as the sun's coming up. All the people gigging are getting off the water. All the people. It was a mess, man.
It's been hectic for sure. It's been down at Fort Fisher, putting in down there to go fly fish or sight fish, and parking way up past the ferry landing on the road. There's so many people down there, but it's good to see people out. I'm not complaining about people getting out and enjoying the resource, but it gets you on your toes. You got to kind of think about not only all right, where have I crushed them, but like also like, all right, where have I caught? For me, it's more been like, where have I caught some flounder that is like a little bit under the radar that I can go try?
I think it pretty much, if it's on a grass line, people have kicked it every night 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think like if you're gonna target, I guess we'll call it pressured flounder fishing, like your deeper docks that people can't gig, your deeper creeks that hold current and eddies, for like all the deeper creeks that run in and out of Wrightsville, that have that like 8 foot of water, 7 foot of water in the bends. Like you can definitely catch flounder right there this time of year, and it would be something that I would target. I haven't really focused on any inshore. I did one day in the river and we caught them.
Yeah, y'all did pretty good.
Did
really good.
But I made sure to go where I thought, like, okay, no one's gigging here.
Right.
It's like 8 feet of water. Let's fish this.
Yeah.
So.
It's, man, 2 days ago, because I put like. Maybe 2 days ago. Let's start 4 days ago. Let's say 4 days ago, I pulled a bunch of shorelines in the river, looking for redfish and flounder. We were throwing. Excuse me.
You gonna make it?
I'm gonna make it. We were throwing a spinnerbait for flounder, looking for redfish. So like trying to pick up some flounder, but gonna sight fish to redfish if we saw one. Did not spook. I bet we spooked 7 or 8 flounder off the bank.
Yep.
And I'm like, and I had been before season spooking like
20.
50, like 50, and some of them are like 8 inches long, but like 50 to like 60 off the bank. And if I'm polling for 4 hours in shallow water, I was spooking like 50 to 70 flounder off the bank on average. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but definitely at least 30 or 40 fish, like on an average day. But I pulled it that day. We spooked like 5 to 10 off the bank. I was like, well, dang, they have been it's been gigged hard. But then 2 days later, I pulled all that stuff and saw a ton of fish, and so. I don't know if that was a reload, if it was a day that the pressure was wrong and those fish didn't want to get up on those shallow edges.
Yeah, I wish I understood like flounder movements. I have a buddy that I was on the phone with who gigs a lot, and I commented that like, well, like, I feel like all those grass lines are probably gigged, and he was like, man, he's like I've had nights where I'll gig down a grass line, and then fall back. It's basically like making a drift but pulling. Pull down the same grass line and stick a few, and then come back, pull down the same grass line and stick a few. So he's like, those fish are moving. I've never seen a fish, like I've gigged not too much, but I've never like seen flounder swimming at night. But maybe you're just missing them. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I've definitely seen, because I spent a lot of time polling in shallow water, like I'll see them blow up. I'll see them slide 10 feet, or not 10 feet, but I'll see them make like 5 foot movements or like 3 foot movements. But I also, 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago, on a spot I was pulling, I hadn't really ever tried to sight fish it before, but saw a flounder blow up in like 2 inches of water.
Yeah.
And got a mullet. It's like I could see him like with the mullet in his mouth, like kind of did like a pelican move and like adjusted it and swallowed it.
Yeah.
So that for me, he was scaling he was like
scaling
the cup.
Scaling.
But to me, I was like, okay, so that's what you're kind of feeling, that thump. Sometimes you just feel a thump and nothing. Sometimes you feel a thump and like a little pecks, and I feel like that's that fish. Like he ate it and didn't get it in his mouth the way he was trying to.
Yeah, I mean, the best way I've had to describe it is like that their teeth are facing backwards like that, because it's like a grabbing thing. Like they just want to grab it, and then they hold it until it stops moving, and then they just eat it. Yeah. So that's why like you'll feel like a thump, and a lot of times if you set the hook, you just have like a bit of. Okay.
So, no, you're good. I'll pull it back up. You're kind of the descaled scenario, but after he ate, he like readjusted and kind of like swam down a little bit and like came back up and laid right up in where the current was coming out of this little creek, and got to see the whole thing, which was pretty cool. Like he ate a mullet, turned around. One of the ones I cleaned today had 5 mullet in its stomach.
Yeah,
they've been gorging.
I'm pretty sure I caught some in the ocean with mullet in 50 feet of water. I'm pretty sure they're just our mullet.
Yeah,
right. I mean,
I'm sure they are. Yeah. It gets knocked off by sea
bass.
It
was just like a knot.
Just a knot of mullet.
It was like 4 mullet.
See, I was thinking that today in a spot, because we lost a couple mullet, and then all the mullet that were in his stomach were like the fresh, the size of the one. Unless he was just sitting there smacking those, like did he eat a couple of those?
That's what they do, but
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's very true. And the other one had some crab in it, like it eaten some blue crab.
I've caught them like sheep's head fishing and November at the reefs.
Yeah.
And I've always assumed just because maybe there's just not that much bait around or something that was like, but.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe a little small blue crab swam by just right, and it looked like a bait fish. But, well, take me through if you're bait fishing in the ocean. We'll get back into that a little bit. What's your rig? What's your reel, rod, running line, or your main line, and then your leader?
So I'm running a medium rod.
Yeah.
With a 3,000, 4,000, it doesn't really matter. 15 or 20 pound braid is what you want. I normally just use the stuff I use for redfish, which is 15.
Yeah.
But, 20 pound braid would probably be better.
You can get away with just because you're knocking structure and stuff.
Anyway, I use 30 pound leader, and I use a bunch of it. Like I'll use almost like not really like a top shot, but like I'll use 5 feet of leader, and then I run a Carolina rig from that. So I run a Carolina rig.
So you'll run leader to your swivel, put your weight on that, swivel on that, and then more fluoro after that. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're not saying you're not running a 5 foot leader off your swivel.
Right, I'm running a 5 foot drop leader from my braid with an all-bright knot to a swivel with a weight and a bead on that.
Gotcha.
And that's just.
What's the magic bead color?
I like pink, dude.
Pink.
Yeah,
it's a good color.
Yeah. So I do that just to keep, I don't ever want braid laying on that rock or ledge or whatever, because it just, even if you don't lose the fish you hooked in, it's just not good. It's not really abrasive resistance. So, and I want to run, you want to have enough weight, and the spots vary depending on the current that you have. So I want to have enough weight where I'm not getting hung up every time I'm going to drag it, and I also want it to be where I can kind of toss it up current and it'll kind of come back down current if there's current where you're fishing. I'm running a 3/0 Kell hook with probably 12 inches to 18 inches of leader. Yeah, that's
about the same setup as myself, except maybe it's out of laziness, don't run the floor over the top. And I see the destruction. I break fish off, and and more so than not, I'm just working harder than I need to, because every 30 minutes I'm cutting back and retying back on.
And also another thing is I'll do sometimes I'll do 30 pound of that, and then 25 pound of the one under the swivel. So if you get hung up and have to pull it, you only have to tie another leader and hook.
You're just breaking off.
You're gonna break that 25 pound.
That's smart for sure.
So, the other day I did use someone to kind of wise me up to using, instead of a Carolina rig setup, using the 1.5 ounce trolling weight.
Oh, wow.
And it worked better.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
But I'm not going to buy a bunch of those. They're like $3 a piece.
They're expensive, if you're breaking them off.
But it worked well. If you're not...
If you knew you were fishing a spot that you weren't going to break off a bunch.
Sure,
Yeah, $3 a piece for weights. Flounder fishing in the ocean would not go well.
But it did work well. So if you're just paying for your own rigs and you're fishing out in the ocean, I think I'd probably do it. In fact, I have one tied on my personal.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. So. That's smart. I never thought about that. I would say I fish pretty similar. Is there a length rod you like? Do you like a shorter rod or a longer rod in the ocean? You're not really casting.
Yeah, I use the rod that I was using when I went fishing the other day is a Panda Custom Rods. Mm-hmm.
He's local here in Wilmington, right?
Local Wilmington guy. Hit him up. He makes some good stuff, man. It's great. He refuses to make subpar things, so you're going to pay a little bit for it, but it's good, really legit good stuff. Yeah. So it was a...
And do you know why it's called Panda Custom Rods?
You know what, man? If you want to know why it's called Panda Custom Rods, go to @Panda Custom Rods on Instagram and message him, because he told me, but I don't remember.
Okay.
So it'd be a good. It's I think it's a. God, it's short. It's a jigging rod. It's like a flipping stick for bass.
Yeah.
But he made it into a flounder ocean jigging rod. I'm stoked to use it for sheep's head, and it was really good for the fly. I have a big bait casting reel on it, and it worked really well. So the shorter does work better, but I mean your standard redfish setup should suffice.
It will work for sure. Yeah, the medium heavy, like a little bit stouter rods.
Yeah, you want something, because you do a lot. when I first started doing this, I was just using the like regular setups, like a medium light or something like that, or medium fast. And if you don't have that, I feel like you have to set the hook on them hard.
Yeah.
But like when it has too much. If it has too much give back when you when you finish the hook set and go to reel that line, if it comes back too much, I feel like they'll shake off of it or whatever.
Yeah,
you don't want to play too much.
What's your go-to setup if you're jigging? Like, or not rod, but like your bait. Like, do you like a spro jig like a lot of people fish, or do you have a certain jig head you like?
I use an 1.5 ounce piece of metal jig, and I use a J hook off the bottom of it with a piece of gold.
Nice, I like it.
And it worked. A buddy of mine kind of turned me on to that, and it works better than spro jigs. I've never. You get hung up less. You catch a bunch of other stuff too, like other things like it, and it works better than nothing works better than live mullet.
Yeah.
But it works.
Yeah, if someone were to say that they could outfish me on a jig with a live mullet, I would say show me.
Yeah, I don't think so, man. You just put that thing down there, they just love it. It's just like what they're meant to eat, and they just go right to it.
It's what they're meant to eat, and they're like, whoa, I haven't seen one of these since a month ago when I was inshore.
Yeah, and
they swim from 15 feet away, and they're like,
get it, dude. You'll end up with so many under your boat. I think when you're using, like if you're in a good spot that's holding flounder, you can bring them all to where they'll eventually just be like, you can just drop straight down.
Yeah. I'm going to make a rig where I can drop like 13 mullet down at once with a big heavyweight and just kind of sit there to draw them in. Yeah. And then drop something with a hook down there. Well, cool. Let's jump into the inshore thing a little bit. I know we kind of touched on it, but what would you say is the most effective way to target flounder inshore? Like what are you going to throw? How are you going to target this fish?
Inshore you want to use, it's kind of the same setup, but your weight's going to be a lot lighter, and I would recommend as light as you can get away with. So like, I mean, quarter ounce egg weights.
Yeah, so that it moves around and covers some ground for you.
You don't want it to be like snagging oysters, and I feel like any type of fishing inshore with live bait, it's like the lightest weight. Like even sometimes for redfish, it's different because you need to be able to cast far.
Right.
But if you're flipping, whether you're fishing a creek or like oyster beds or whatever, like I feel like as light as you can get away with, where you can kind of throw it up current, it holds a little bit but kind of rolls.
Yeah.
You're fishing more water with that one cast. So same, 3/0 kale hook with a big mullet.
Yeah.
Is gonna be your go-to, a little bit harder your bait, and I would. If I were to just, if you said I had to go catch flounder inshore tomorrow, I would just go fish every dock that I know holds at least 4 feet of water at low tide.
Yeah.
And it being in high current helps.
Yeah, for sure. If you're setting up on a dock with that, are you trying to sit up current and drop your baits back in there to it, or?
Normally what I do if I'm going to fish a dock for flounder is I will kind of ease up to the dock and fish all the outside spots.
Yeah.
All the outside docks, like pines, so flip in there the best you can. And if it's a big enough dock, dude, I'll get like to where I'll put my power pole down and let my bow swing into the dock to where I'm like able to like hold my hand up on the piling, and I'll just, as far as you can get it up on there.
Yeah.
You're fishing. They'll be way up under the dock, and so I'll try to get pretty close.
So you get smacked by a redfish under there and have no chance.
It's embarrassing because you can't get them out. Just like the last time that happened, I had a good climb on the boat, and we were both kind of fishing, and I didn't even try. I was just like, I just held it out and let it pull drag and pop me off.
Yeah, you're like, this ain't gonna happen. Oh, that's awesome. I've noticed like, God, I'll catch flounder so freaking shallow in some scenarios, but like on docks, I never really catch them on the shallow part of a dock.
They'll be shallow, man.
You'll get them on the shallow parts of the docks?
Oh, dude, I've caught flounder on docks and gig flounder on docks that are in this much water.
Yeah.
But I feel like right now, if you're doing the scenario for September 2021, that's been gigged.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, with that being said, how often those flounders swim up and down that dock, because like a redfish, they'll move up and down every tide.
For sure. And I think flounder move with the tide more than we think they do. We just can't. We don't lay eyes on them.
Yeah.
Ever or very often, if not ever. So it's harder to kind of make that.
I'm sure they move. Cause you catch them at high tide, you'll catch them nose to the grass, and then at low tide, sometimes that grass is maybe if it's even like 6 feet, maybe they're moving. But I don't know. It's
crazy though, man, because even at low tide, there's in areas that are not trafficked areas, those fish will be laying in 2 inches of water on the mud.
Water,
like if they swim an inch forward, their mouth will be up in the mud.
I've caught and had clients catch flounder on top water that you'll see the belly, like you'll see, you know, they're just laying there.
Yeah, they just go.
Whoop, like you'll see you see a flash of white, and then you kind of like takes you a while to realize what just happened.
Yeah.
But
I think I just had a flounder eat my top water.
Yeah, no, I mean a couple of different times, 2 times this year, big flounder just kind of lifted. It's like a subtle little.
Yeah, I feel like there's some spots that I think of whenever I talk about topwater flounder. Like you probably could go target them. Like there's some shallower flats.
The one we had. It was the funniest thing in the world. I could I have other client was videoing me netting the fish. I'm just laughing hysterically because it just it porpoised. Like it was like it skied, but like the topwater's here and it was like. Boom.
Yeah, like a tuna eating something.
Yeah, it looked exactly. It was just like awesome. The funniest thing ever, man.
That's pretty awesome. I fished today, and I haven't fished this way in a long time. But this guy named Brian, who I've met, ran a double boat trip with him. He runs a Sea Pro out of Carolina Beach. Really nice dude. And then I goose hunted with him the other day. He was with some of the other guys in the group, but. And this is how I used to catch flounder as a kid, was putting a mullet on a jig head flipping and hopping it. And I did that today and caught a couple, and did it the other day and caught a couple. And so that's another really good way. And once he dies, take him off. You go through a lot of mullet like that. Like you couldn't go fish 4 clients like that, I don't feel like, unless you had a pile of freaking mullet. But
which isn't hard to come by right now.
No, it's not. But man, some of them are so big. Like they're
good,
good, but they're harder for. For someone who's not focusing on that bite, I feel like more people are going to miss fish on those bigger baits because
they do grab it and hold on to it a little longer.
Yeah,
they love it. They want you can get a big one.
Yeah,
you can definitely catch a 16-inch flounder on a 8-inch mullet.
Oh 100%. Yeah. It's crazy how packed their stomachs are right now. Like everything I cleaned today, redfish, flounder,
loaded,
just very full of bait fish. Yeah, they're definitely focusing on bait fish.
No shrimp.
Some shrimp. One of the flounders we caught threw up some shrimp. Redfish had some crabs in them, some shrimp. 2 days ago, I caught a redfish that was. I watch them eat them all the time, but I've never looked in the stomach. I try to look in their stomachs quite often.
Snails?
No, it was shrimp, but it was 100 of those tiny grass shrimp, the little tiny ones. I've seen them in there before, but he must have just gorged on them because they were very, very fresh, and it was. A pile of them. Yeah. Smaller than a fly that you could tie. Very little grass shrimp. And he had 2 big ones in there too. But there's a lot of bait around right now, a lot of opportunity, and I guess my encouragement would be don't be intimidated to get out there and try to flounder fish. There's still fish out there.
Oh man, I'm going tomorrow.
But try to think outside of the box. Try to fish some of that stuff that maybe hasn't been gigged or maybe hasn't been.
I'll say this, admittedly, I don't target flounder inshore anymore.
Yeah.
You can't. I would rather go. I know I left the redfish the day before.
Right.
I know I can go do that. I know the clients enjoy that. I know, and I don't feel like going through the whole conversation with why we can't keep them.
Right.
But I have friends who are going out every day and coming back with a limit of fish inshore on skiffs, doing it. So don't be discouraged at all. You have the state of North Carolina has given you 14 days to take advantage of this resource as many times as you can. Go take advantage of it. I'm definitely an advocate for. Look, they've put into thought this year. 14 days is what they think it could take. Don't feel bad about doing it.
Yeah.
Go whack them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It's when you can do it. They're allowing you 4 fish per day for 14 days. I'm not good at math, but that's a lot of them.
For sure, and I will say there is so many fishermen just think that they are the crap, and that they're whatever they think is the right thing, is the best thing, and I'm so sick of all the crap on Facebook about people complaining about the season. It's too long. Everyone's killing big fish, and too many fish being killed.
The flounder season.
The flounder season, yeah, and it's this another terrible call by the state
because they let it happen.
Because I mean, the thing is like I really believe that everyone's trying to. Not everyone is, but I think the state is trying to make good decisions, and they're making mistakes, and trying to, just like anything political, like the more division we have, the tougher it's going to be to get something done. So, and if it is a mess up, hopefully we'll see that and we'll do it better next time. But
I think, and no one really cares what I think, but I'm going to tell you guys.
Everyone, okay.
I think it would do a lot to just shut it down.
Yeah.
And
I hate cleaning them. I hate cleaning them.
I can clean a flounder.
I can clean it. I got time today. 4 minutes on the flounder.
Cut down the middle?
Cut down the middle, lay the fillet. But it's just 4 fillets I got to take off. Like a redfish is... but I don't know which I hate more. Flounder goes pretty quick. I think a redfish in probably like 2.5 minutes.
I'm not proud of it, but I got really good at the redfish this year. Just because you can like... There's like an angle you can take above that rib that you can just like...
You got to have a sharp knife.
Yeah.
My knife's never sharp. That's my fault.
Anyway, I think shutting it down for a year, 2 years, but then like I don't know how the stock assessments work. Like how they make a stock assessment if no one's harvesting.
Yeah. They go out and net.
They net them.
They go out and net and let them go. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I don't know. I mean,
it's got to help if you take 2 years off from keeping them. You know what I mean? Like,
I think like. It's been so, it goes back to 30 years ago when we're showing declining fish stock in the flounder species, southern flounder. And then like 20 years ago, they're showing, they're like, oh yeah, your fish stock's pretty bad. It's like, we'll take care of it, man. And then like 10 years ago, it's bad. Well, then it's like, okay, well now we got to have a closed season. And then at that decision, at the point where it's been so neglected for 30 years, the stock assessment has been neglected for 30 years. I think then would have been a good time to be like, okay, look, we're going to have to close it. And we'll make an assessment in 2 years. But then again...
Now they've like just kind of taken it away, like slowly peeled the Band-Aid off instead of just like...
Yeah, I think...
Like no one would be talking about it anymore if they had just freaking closed it down.
They do it to trout all the time.
Yeah.
It's a common thing in Florida.
Yeah.
Like for just to be like, no, you can't keep those. When? We don't know. We'll let you know.
Yeah,
for
sure.
It's a common
and people
thing.
are okay with it because they want the fishery to survive.
Right. They want to be able to go catch them.
Yeah.
So
they're worth more in the water than out of the water.
And I think it's hard to sell that to people when it comes to flounder because like you think about a redfish, like when someone says the word redfish, like I'm not thinking about like, wow, that would be good on the grill. But when someone says flounder, I'm thinking like, man, that's a good sandwich.
I think it's because people can have more intimate moments with redfish. I know that sounds weird, but like the tailing and like seeing them blow a topwater.
I'm thinking when someone says redfish, I'm thinking of a topwater blow up and a drag scream.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
I'm not thinking about lettuce and tomato and a sandwich.
Yeah.
When someone says flounder,
I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. Like, sounds real tasty. I have yet to eat one since season came in, but yeah, no, and that mindset for me when they shut it down last year changed because like, dang, I really like when they're around in a decent number, they're fun to catch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I enjoy targeting them and like, oh, this point should have a flounder on it. You make a cast over there and are rewarded for understanding where those fish orient and how they sit and how you need to bring a bait through there. It's just a great fish to have, and people are like, oh, there's tons of flounder around it, and yes, there are flounder around. It's because no one's killing them, but also it's not even close to what it was, 20 years ago. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was in elementary school and middle school, and we would go fish docks with a jig head and a mullet.
Catch 20 off.
Catch 20 on docks, like drifting docks. We didn't have a trolling motor. We'd set up on docks.
I remember
and just drift past them, and like you'd get like 2 casts underneath them, and you'd catch a flounder out from underneath.
I remember being able to set on a dock and just cast to the next dock, and in between those 2 docks,
you're catching flounder.
All afternoon you can go out and catch a bunch of them.
Yeah,
and let them all go. Some of them are small, but there's a bunch. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a scientist. Yeah. I'm a fishing guide. Yeah. I like having the fish there. It's nice to go, and people will probably be mad at this, but it's nice to go target them out of season for clients who just want to catch some fish, and you don't really know, if the tide's wrong for the redfish or whatever. It's
a good filler.
It's a filler, man, and people enjoy it, and it's nice to take a picture with them. You let them go; they swim all fine, as far as I know.
Unless you're fishing around barracudas.
Well, there's that, but and it's definitely, as I've seen it with the closed seasons last year and this year, it gets silly. It's like, and you're kind of wondering, like, okay, what's the equilibrium there? Like, what's normal, I guess, if you were to take out the overfishing aspect of it and take off the, okay, well, now that maybe that species has, they have so many fish coming in that we're not harvesting them. Maybe it's more than it should be. But what's normal supposed to look like? I think that's something that they have to kind of figure out. Like, what's the stock assessment supposed to look like with targeting them all year? Because I guess the goal would be to be able to eventually have an open season. But God, that's probably a little ways in the future. The problem is once you give someone once an agency takes the step to close the season, it's always going to be controversial to open it back up. I mean, take red snapper, dude. Like, how many red snapper do you think are out there now? I mean, it's not even close to being endangered anymore. I mean,
no.
it's like it can be a nuisance when you're fishing at that 20-mile range of all the would-be keeper red snapper that you have to throw back when you're group fishing. Right. I don't know. I mean, hopefully they can figure out a plan for managing it and then figure out maybe a 5-year plan for
bringing it back.
Yeah, would be but who knows.
But I guess you just got to get to some type of stable level. But
yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I think we'll wrap her up. Hope that inspired y'all to get out there and hit
it. Get out and catch them.
And if you're lucky enough to live in Virginia or South Carolina or Georgia,
then call me. I'll come up and catch you.
Yeah, if you catch the flounder, call us. We'll come catch them with you. But yeah, definitely check out this bait, motorboat. Don't know what that name's all about.
Check out the motorboat, man. You won't regret it.
And go get you one on the motorboat. But we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for checking out the podcast. Peace.